Good name.
AI, which is like the fact, the way in which it's not capable of, of forming not moral judgments. Now, of course, the reason that it's not capable of forming moral judgments is that its programmers have very consciously, deliberately neutered it from being able to do so. But then Chomsky and Co.'s point is, okay, but why did they have to do that, right? Like, and the reason they had to do that is because of some of these past experience with they had past to do that is because of some of these past experience where people like do things like trick the system into being incredibly racist, has like made them very leery about it. It's like, well, if we just let this thing loose to be like, to like express moral, like express, right? I mean, put aside all the consciousness questions, but like, express moral opinions. God knows what horrified depraved shit it's going to come up with. So like, God knows what let's neuter it. Let's make it refrain from doing that. And so this is where the subtitle of my essay comes from, right? It says Chomsky on ChatGPT are machine learning systems like concentration camp guards, because one of the things they say in the op-ed is that because it's been so, what ChatGPT has essentially been programmed to do is to present itself the way that like Nazis tried to escape prosecution.
It did confuse me for a second, the kind of thing with Chomsky and your title, because I don't associate primarily concentration camp guards with trying to escape justice, but guarding concentration camps.
Sure.
So I was a bit confused about how they were similar, but I got it in the end.
Yeah. The same way that like people who are like concentration camp guards would then say, like when captured after the war, no, it's not my fault, I was just following orders, right? It's like essentially Chomsky's point is that you try to ask ChatGPT these moral questions, and it'll sort of present itself with far more justification, the way that like Nazis after the war would present themselves essentially as the kind of entity incapable of making independent moral judgments. And then so it's true, it does do that. And of course, they're also right about, on the first level, about the reason that it does that, which is that it does that like the programmers are rationally worried that it'll say all kinds of things that'll horrify people if it's like let loose
and then journalists will write articles about them and they'll make less money.
Yeah, exactly, right? So safer to neuter it. And so the real question, like the real moral idiocy, isn't the refusal that's been programmed to express judgment. It's the reason that it's had to be programmed to refrain from expressing judgments, which is that we just don't trust it to like make value judgments we're not going to find grotesque. And Chomsky's explanation of this is essentially, well, this is just a more particular instance of the sort of general cognitive limitations of these systems that think about all that stuff about either over-generating or under-generating on factual issues, that they say it can't balance creativity with constraint the way that human minds do, and that when we sort of, reason for moral principles, we're doing that. And so it's these general cognitive limitations that make it incapable of doing good moral reasoning. And I think that, and this is the part where I most clearly disagree, because I think that that's importantly wrong. That I think that it's not, that, look, it could be that it has all the cognitive limitations that they say it does. In fact, I think at least the current version probably does have quite a few of the cognitive limitations they say it does. But I don't think that's the sort of most fundamental problem leading to the moral idiocy. I think there's this deeper problem. There's the Humean point, right, about facts and values, which is that ultimately, like when look, even if we came up with a long list of plausible sounding moral principles and programmed them, and like, again, as you say, these effective altruism freaks are the last people in the world I want like loading up an AI with moral principles, because it's just going to be like utilitarian stuff that I think is going to be awful. But like, I think that so like even if better people, not like them, not your Peter Singers and William McCaskills, are supplying it with moral principles. And you try like really earnestly to come up with all the plausible moral principles you can think of, and then if it like reasons with flawless human level reasoning for whatever moral principles you give it, I still think the moral results are going to be a lot different than what a sort of normally well-adjusted human would come up with, because.
But I guess the important point is you don't think that can be because we're wrong.
Maybe. So I think that whether we're wrong.
Two people on
like, I'm going to give a really annoying answer here, which depends what you mean by wrong.
So
I think that like, if you think that there are moral facts that are sort of hanging out in Plato's heaven somewhere, or they're just kind of like hanging from the sky, waiting for us to like come along and find them, I'm sort of politely skeptical of your metaphysical picture. I think that what's typical, I think what's going on, in the sort of basic, the kind of basic human picture that seems right to me is that, we have moral passions. We have like what like the Michael Sloat, who's a virtue ethicist, calls feelings of warmth and chill. That we're trying like when we're doing moral reasoning, right? What we're really reasoning about, right, is what sort of how to kind of distill those into something we can explicitly articulate. So like when Hume says that reason is the slave of the passions, like I think a straightforward way of reading what he's saying there is that like reasoning is really good for figuring out how to carry out the goals that you care about. It's also really good, you know, that that's something moral reasoning is all about, is like helping you figure out what you really care about, right? That's like, oh, this principle sounds really plausible to me until I start thinking about some things that would follow from it. And then I realize that actually, no, I don't really subscribe to that, you know, or it conflicts with this other principle. It's more important to me or whatever. So like reasoning is really good for helping you to figure out which goals you care about. It's really good for helping you figure out how to carry out the goals you care about. But there is, I think, a strong sense in which reasoning can't just sort of like, I mean, this is where ultimately I'll side with Hume against Kant. You know, like reasoning can't just sort of manufacture the goals all by itself. And I think that when human, you know, I think that the project of moral reasoning is a worthwhile one, right? Because I think that it is, you know, I'm a big fan of self-awareness and reflection and sort of thinking about it's like, okay, but like, what, you know, do I actually, you know, think that, you know, is there is my like overall sort of set of commitments coherent here? Like is there an inconsistency? If so, how should I resolve it? Right? Like I think that's a worthwhile process to engage in. That like that sort of process of trying our best to hammer our moral intuitions into an internally consistent framework. And I think you can learn a lot from the process. But I also think that it's not. There are limits to our ability to completely capture everything that we morally care about in explicitly articulated principles. And as evidence for that, I would say, you know, look at the last few thousand years of moral philosophy and how people don't tend to easily arrive at universally held consensuses, right? I mean, like that there's
it's like all people are
different, at all, or you know, like people. It's like moral philosophy is really, really hard, and it's actually, you know, like I think as valuable as the process can be, I also just think that like it's a little bit ridiculous to think, okay, a few more years of thinking hard about this, and we'll have succeeded in distilling everything we care about into explicitly articulated principles that you can give to the AI and program it with. Because even if it's flawlessly reasoning from whatever principles you give it, right? The question is, okay, are the principles that you give it, have you managed to essentially upload your entire moral conscience into the set of principles you can program with it? And I'm pretty skeptical of that. I think that
we should have talked to this earlier probably, because I think I'm very sus on this point, especially in the sense that if you mean as to say kind of morality is like this, but other things aren't. Because to give another
bonus for this,
Chomsky talks about kind
lots
of
magic attack,
and an apple falling from a tree,
all
this kind of
drop
thing.
into vent.
But obviously,
okay.
Hume asked it, well, why do we think that? Trying to mute you. You got barking.
Yeah, actually, this we probably really will have to cut out. Give me just a second.
Okay.
Here's some stats.
Nice. All right.
What is he looking at? Oh. Done. Alright, that's the fastest. Pick that kind of stuff. Oops. Excuse me.
All right, yes.
Oh.
Yes. Nice. All right. Yes. All right.
Alright. Wait. Alright. That's better.
All right.
Hi.
Just in case,
Let's see.
just in case we forget to cut this out
7,
later, I'm not going to say
4,
what's going on, but I'll tell you when we
4,
tell you
4,
when we
4.
stop.
All right, got
But I think
everything
that
I needed
given
for
the
this.
entirety of the situation, I think the minimum amount of disruption it's caused has been impressive. But you were just starting to make a different.
Yeah, I'll just run it from the top.
Yeah.
On the other Humean point. So the other Humean point I'd make is that in the article, and it's kind of like a key thing for Chomsky, is that this AI wouldn't be able to make proper causal connections. Something you agreed with. But obviously, if we read Hume critiques arguments from induction, which he critiques the idea that just because something's happened a million times before, we should think it happens in the future. Like, what's the actual logic there? Why should we assume that because something is true going into the past, that it's true going into the future? There's obviously various answers to this. But I think on some level, how you describe kind of this problem with morality ultimately being based on kind of like seemings or intuitions, which can ultimately, in some sense, be justified. If it's a problem, I don't think it's just a problem for morality, and that in the same way that kind of you need to make some kind of leap of faith to get to morality, you need to make some kind of leap of faith to properly go about induction or some of the things, or at least kind of these things aren't fundamentally different. So I don't know if that's what you're suggesting, that kind of morality. I think it's what you're suggesting, the morality is like an odd one out here, but I would say that I'm not. That's sus to me, basically.
Yeah. So what I think is that it's. I mean, I think that whether or not there are analogous problems that are going to arise in other domains, I think the problem about morality is that an AI, at least that was like ChatGPT. Again, like could you have something? I am not particularly inclined to think that there's anything magical about the meat,
some stats
in human brains. I mean, Cyril sometimes does kind of verge into suggesting that there is, but they have a, but like I think probably not. So could you have something that was, that like was made out of circuits or whatever, but that actually was so similar to a human mind, right? That it just had like the same moral feelings that we do. Sure, why not, right? But if we're talking about anything like the kind of AI that currently exists, just a more sophisticated form of it, I think that the problem is with just applying explicit moral principles and reasoning forward from them without being able to sort of check those moral principles against the source, against the sort of moral feelings that we're trying to express principles. I think that's the sort of I think that's why you should expect them to be morally idiotic. I mean, that sort of like jokey example I give at the end of the essay is like, oh, you didn't want me to process the corpses of the babies who died in the fire to make high protein nourishment for the survivors? Well, that doesn't follow from any of the principles you gave me, right? So they have that's why you should expect it. Now, as far as like whether you're going to get whether you're going to get problems that are to one degree or another parallel in other domains, maybe, right? I think that they have but I just think that like, my objection to Chomsky on the morality question is that I think that he and his co-authors are underselling how deep the problem goes, right? That like because they're sort of seeing it as a problem with their reasoning, and I see it as a I'd argue that it's also a problem about what it's reasoning from.
But why do you think the AI doesn't have access to these intuitions? Because unless you're kind of going into some kind of qualia thing, because it seems to me on the surface that the AI in fact has more access to these intuitions because humans constantly express them all over the open source internet than it actually does to well-argued moral principles, which are kept behind a paywall and thus not actually something that ChatGPT currently has.
Surely we can finagle ChatGPT a JSTOR account so we can read the
papers.
Oh
no, I mean it will soon, and then it becomes even more dangerous for academics.
Yeah. I think that there's what you're suggesting is roughly the solution, the sort of alignment solution that's consistent with recognizing the Humean problem, right? That my friend Mark Warren gave, that I quote in the paper, right? Which is that you could just sort of, give it all of the expressions, right? Basically, here are all the cases where humans are expressing moral feelings, and you sort of like extrapolate from that like some grand function that just that correlates from that, and it's like, yeah, could you theoretically get around it that way? Yeah, sure, right. I think that's possible, right? But I think that seems to be a little bit different from what Chomsky's talking about, where he's like, oh, here's the problem with here's a problem with AI reasoning from moral principles. It can't do that as well, as well as humans do. And I would say, well, that might very well be true, right? Like as a particular instance of a more general problem about it replicating human reasoning. But whether it's true or not, I don't think that's the deepest problem. I think the deepest problem is this thing about is the thing about not having the original moral feelings. Now, I think there are various ways that you could theoretically solve that problem. One of them is that sort of the sort of try and that kind of grand function where it just sort of took all of the expressions and tried to come up with the live best fit, which I think that's like I think that's like a sort of more grounded thing that would be slightly, I mean, obviously it'd be a hell of an engineering feat, but it'd still be like, it's still more easily imaginable, right? Then,
did you see this paper I referenced, The Moral Machine?
Tell me about it.
Well, basically MIT asked 40 million people across the world, which is an incredible number. What should an AI car do in various circumstances? Basically, versus the body problem. Run down a child or an elder, and obviously the varying results based on different countries. But my problem with that is I just think it's just that's not what we should be doing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you disagree. Like,
I guess I'm not sure what you mean.
I don't think that we should base the like what AI systems should do on by just asking loads of people.
Oh
Because
yeah, so
that's
but I
the
think
kind
that's
of go
also
into relativism.
yeah, I think that's also a little bit different too, right? Like in other words, like because I think if you're like I think one difference between um like again, so you know, on the extreme end, one solution is to just like have an AI in some science fiction future that is actually like what's going on under the hood, you know, is so much more like a human mind
Yeah.
than not that like it's that like it just genuinely has or has unconscious versions of, if that's possible, right? Whatever, like you know, but just genuinely has all the same moral impulses that we do, and then there's just like no issue. And then like a step less science fiction than that, the more grounded thing would be that you somehow imagine an AI that is sort of takes all the data points that sort of indicate what people's underlying impulses are, and it sort of extrapolates from that to having like a model for what they're going to be, and they can like play the same functional role in its moral reasoning as just sort of like appeals to intuition have in human moral reasoning. I think you know not as hard to imagine as the first one. Still a little hard to imagine. That'd still be like quite something, right? But it's like
Yeah.
it's sort of you know, but it's like more like it's like you can see how in principle that could happen.
And
But
with something like a large language model.
yeah, exactly, right. You can see in principle how it could happen with something that wouldn't be too radically different in its intrinsic nature. I think it would still be pretty different, but it wouldn't be like it wouldn't just be this radically different kind of entity. I think
Yeah,
in the same way.
it has to be like a human brain.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But then and then finally, I think you could have a version like. But then, like, I think that's several steps beyond like what the MIT thing is trying to do, because what the MIT thing is doing is it's like asking people for what conclusions they come to, and I think I probably agree with you about that part, because it's like,
Ooh.
look,
I'll take that.
like what conclusions people come to is not really the interesting part, because like most people
Can't
are pretty
ever
bad at
seem
this,
to get
right? I
one
mean, like
above
there's
level
not
one,
most of
though.
them,
Lie to you.
yeah, a lot of them lie to you. They'll try to think, oh, what sounds decisive, or what's going to make it, you know, like what do I feel gross saying? Like I have there are like a lot of things that could like there's a lot of ways for a lot of noise to get into here. And I also just think like that that this goes back to the question earlier about, okay, could we be wrong? And I said it depends on what you mean by wrong, right? And I think that and even if you don't think that we can be wrong in the sense that there are some sort of non-naturalistic moral facts that are, you know, I don't know, they're like abstract objects like numbers or something, just like waiting for us to discover them. Even if you don't quite think that, right? You can still think it's like, well, okay, but like when it comes to sort of a process of reasoning that's ultimately driven by moral impulses, but like we try to bring those impulses into dialogue with each other and see and like, you know, formulate principles from them, but then like question them, you know, when they interfere with, you know, the original, whatever. Like, look, see above. Moral philosophy is really hard, and like I don't think that like I don't think there are 40 million people in the world who are really that good at it, right? That like I don't think that like any random survey respondent being asked this really hard question, like in a survey, and being like, I guess I should do this, right? I just don't think that that's going to be that informative
That's so
about
weird
what
how
like the
that
results of that process
happens.
should look like. I think we could definitely be wrong in that sense, right? So I think that the MIT thing is probably barking up the wrong tree. I mean, on the question of whether there are like analogies to this problem about AI, you know, AIs that are programmed with explicit moral principles not having access to the original moral intuitions, whether there are analogies to that problem with other areas, yeah, maybe. I mean, like I think like you know the like a lot of I mean, I like your framing about a sort of parallel Humean problem, and like if you read like the inquiry concerning human understanding, I mean, part of what Hume says about some of those inferences is like, you know, he's not a skeptic in the sense that he thinks that like the conclusion is wrong, right? He's very clear.
Right,
about
right. Because he obviously, like in the argument for against miracles and stuff like that, he's clearly been inductive, right? His conclusion isn't we shouldn't be inductive, but just like there's a real problem with how is that justified. Where it's the same thing with kind of the is all problem. Like kind of it might seem obvious, but actually kind of things are there's something bad going on here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he says like there's a point in the inquiry concerning human understanding. He's talking about some of these problems about induction and causation and all that, and like he sort of says like only what does he said, like only a fool or a madman like wouldn't come to this conclusion, right? Like that's you know, but the question is like how are we coming to it? And that's like where the skeptical worry comes in. And like you could say like maybe there's some sort of approximate analogy there to moral intuition, that like that they have there's stuff that there's stuff under the hood that's like, you know, you could think in a reasonable human way is sort of like helping us to sort of navigate, you know, when it's reasonable to make a causal inference that like, you know, we maybe don't know how to, at least we don't know yet how to equip an AI with those same mechanisms, and whatever that looked like, it would probably be a lot different from a sort of gorging on statistical data and like vomited out, you know, correlations machine.
Right. So we've gone the longest we've ever had.
Northern Mumia.
How concealed that'll be in the final product, who knows? But I did want to play a game with you before we go.
Sure.
Actually, no, wait. First, tell us what the next essay is, because we're quite far forward for one, so you should have a good idea.
Yeah. I do. It is an essay that I promised.
Why has
The
been
title has
Bert?
changed a little
You
bit
know,
because
I'm
I wanted to
looking at
include
this
the,
and just
the thing that I'm using to introduce it right in the title.
didn't
but,
really consider
it's
it.
what I
Why
promised
is
a
he
while
in
ago.
a
Actually,
basic apartment room?
did this in one of
Kitchen
the original
even.
free will essays that I did. So it's going to be called Tim Pool, Sam Cedar, and Thanos: how to be a leftist without being a utilitarian or a free will skeptic. So it's basically taking the sort of going way back to that Sam Harris thing, where it's like, okay, when I'm talking about Sam Harris's combination of
And I
philosophical
forgot.
views, the only
Okay,
real
ignore
point of
that.
making in that essay is just like he's making really bad arguments for them. And then like in the Slavoj Žižek, the case for compatibilism essay, I'm taking a step further and being like, okay, at least on the free will part, here's a reason to think that his view's wrong, right? But then the question that's sort of being, one of the questions that's being consciously bracketed in both of those is the politics of all of it, because I do want to separate those out. I'd say like, okay, is this correct is one question, and then like how does it fit with our politics is another question. But like what I wanted to sort of steer directly into for this one is the way that a lot of leftists, in my experience, certainly of a lot of leftists, the online variety, want to sort of feel like that Harris-esque combination of views, that they, the only moral principle we care about is utility maximization. We don't really think that people are autonomous agents, making free decisions.
Which I think is a very easy path to insane totalitarianism.
I think so too. So yes, I think that like a lot of people think, oh well, see, I don't like conservatives and libertarians.
You should title it "Principles that we shouldn't teach any future general AI."
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I want to make the case that actually left politics, or at least the most sort of historically attractive kind of left politics, is actually separate from the question of whether those views are correct, which I've argued elsewhere that they're not, right? But it's like I also want to say it's like actually people, leftists, who are attracted to those views because they think that those are a good fit with the left program, haven't thought about it enough, and that I think a lot of the things that we most care about are not actually adequately captured by that. So that's the point for next week. But before we go, you got a game you want to play?
I had a game. So I asked ChatGPT to give me fake zero books titles, and I wanted you to rate from 1 to 10 or 0 to 10 how zero books you think they are. I'm not going to do all 10. I'm going to do a few of them, but I think this is a fun game. So first off, Revolutionizing Consciousness: A Guide to Psychedelic Activism.
Ooh, that's pretty zero booksy. I think that's got to be at least 7 out of 10.
Okay. What about The Intersectional Paradox: The Limit of Identity Politics?
It's not quite as zero booksy as the first one, but it's still very zero booksy. That's like maybe a 5.5.
What about Against Empathy? Against Empathy: A Nietzschean Critique of Contemporary Morality.
That's so zero booksy that if you told me that existed, I'd be like, yeah, probably. That's like a 9 or something. That's very good.
Right. And this one, which I think might actually tend a bit too far, but you can say: The Death of Expertise: How Anti-Intellectualism is Killing Democracy.
That is a really interesting borderline example, because the thesis feels a little bit off, but like it's it's like at least a 5 out of 10. I mean, like that.
They're all pretty good.
Yeah.
Most of the ones I haven't said are just kind of boring. I think the one which doesn't seem like a zero books title is the meaningless of meaning: Deconstructing Linguistic Signifiers, which I think is too academic.
Whoops.
No, I don't think. I mean, I assume we're mostly talking about Doug Era zero books, and I don't think he would have signed off on that. But yeah, all the ones you originally read, man. It's like even the last one, which was the least, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, those are all pretty good. I mean, again, yeah.
I mean, the Against Empathy and Nietzschean Critique of Contemporary Morality is clearly a book written by McManus's Evil Twin.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's knock off. I'm going to play the outro.
I would like to add at the end of this is that I have absolutely no trouble with a fully intelligent AI being out there. It's mostly just going to leave us alone because we're not intelligent. We're not going to be clever enough to keep up with it. Also, on the topic of emotions, hormones play such a small role in such a thing that it's far more important that an AI has access to things like reasoning, logic, the ability to retain information, and the ability to gain new information. Those aspects are far more important to actually being emotional than anything else. Or having emotions.
Vladimir Putin body double conspiracy theory. Okay, I can't. If you came to me and said, hey, Tim, did you know that a world leader used a body double? I would be like, duh, we know, they all do. Didn't we talk about this with Saddam Hussein?
What?
We know they do. Why would they not? U.S. world leaders are probably, U.S. leaders are doing it. European
shouldn't
leaders are
have
doing
killed
it.
it.
Why wouldn't Vladimir Putin be doing it? Okay, it's still a really fun subject. A new viral video adds fuel to Vladimir Putin body double conspiracy theory. The New York Post reports, a new viral video is adding fuel to conspiracy theories that Russian strongman Vladimir Putin is deploying doppelgangers for risky public outings, including on the ground in war-torn Ukraine. Why wouldn't he? This is crazy. The clip, which has been making the rounds in recent days, further inflames speculation that Putin is playing it safe by using as many as 3 different body doubles to dodge any potential danger, according to a report by the Daily Mail. Who is ruling Russia? The video asks. Okay, well, let's see what this video is all about. Let's see, we got sound on this thing.
Внимание на отличие дублеров президента России. Выступ на мочке уха Путина постоянно меняется, как и
Yeah, I
маленькая
have no idea what
родинка
they're
на его
saying. They're
лице.
showing a
У
bunch of
одного
images.
Путина на лбу прямые морщины, а у другого маленькие и прерывистые. Это невозможно, даже если ему кололи бот.
Yeah, it's clearly a body double.
Послали самого слабого двойника, которому даже забыли вставить
They
череп.
forgot to
Так
put in his
сколько
jaw
же у
and his
нас
false
Путин?
teeth.
Кто
That could be
управляет
true, too.
Россией?
Who is really ruling Russia? Oh, look at all these different pictures of Vladimir Putin. Now, this is actually a really good one. You take a look at this image right here, and it's like February 21st, Vladimir Putin's got this big chin. Then March 18th in Sevastopol, he got no chin, and his cheeks are all puffy. Then you look over here, and the hair, you know, whatever, on the 19th, and they're saying it looks a little different. Now, I think these two guys, probably same dude. This guy may be a different guy. And this could explain why they're saying that Putin's sick or whatever. It could be that he's just using a body double sick, I don't know. But, like, they post these photos of ears and everything. Let me read this. A specialist long ago noticed the differences between the Russian president's body doubles, the video says in Russian. A ledge on Putin's earlobe constantly changes, as does a small mole on his face. One of the Putins has straight wrinkles on his face, the other has small and interrupted wrinkles, the video claims. This is impossible, even if he had Botox injections. Now look, I am not going to
Finally.
entertain the Biden conspiracy theory. You ever see this one? It is hilarious. I love it. Biden, they call, there's like old photos of Joe Biden before he got a facelift and like fillers and stuff, and they call him Biden. He's wrinkly with a double chin, and he didn't get his hair plugs or whatever, and they call him Biden, and it's like, dude, they're not using body doubles for political speeches. That's stupid. They're using body doubles for going to meetings and going to other countries and dangerous things. And when you think Biden is like at this place, it may be a body double, not for standing up on a podium and giving a speech. They say the wild theory gained steam earlier this week when Ukrainian government advisor Anton Gerashchenko floated the idea that the photos of Putin during an impromptu visit to the Ukrainian cities of Mariupol and Sevastopol appear to be different men. I mean, they do. They appear to be different men. Gerashchenko, an advisor to the Internal Affairs Minister in the war-torn country, highlighted differences in the neck and chin area in men identified as Putin.
day.
Images of the Russian leader taken in Moscow on February 21st seem to show him with a thinner neck compared to the jowls of the men pictured in Ukraine Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, look at this. You got big old jowls. What's up with that? Huh? And maybe he's getting Botox. Evidently, the weakest double was sent to Mariupol. The video posted by the Daily Mail claims they forgot to put in his jaw. Interesting. As a small mole on his face. Look at the ears. The ears are different. A ledge on Putin's earlobe constantly changes. Oh, look at that. Putin's surprise appearance in Ukraine was his first appearance in the Russian-occupied territory since Moscow launched an invasion of the country last year. Rumors that he uses lookalikes have circulated for years but have never been proven. After Putin's visit to Ukraine over the weekend, the country's military intelligence rep, Andriy Yusov, quipped that a man that looks like Putin visited Mariupol. I think they all know everyone does it, and they're doing this to try and discredit or hurt the reputation of Putin. Putin visiting these places is shocking. It's an attempt to show that he has total control over these regions. Now, I don't know if it was actually Putin or not, but I would not be surprised if Putin sent in a body double. They do this for a lot of different people. They do it in Okay, you know what a stunt double is? They will get an actor. Quite easily find an actor who looks like him. Now, you mean to tell me you would believe that Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise get body doubles for movies when they're like jumping a 5-foot gap between like buildings or something, but that the president of Russia would not get one when going into an active war zone? Doesn't that make a little bit more sense? Not to mention, hey, World War III, baby. The West has brought humankind to the brink of nuclear Armageddon with its decision to use depleted uranium ammo in Ukraine, says Russia's U.S. envoy. Anatoly Antonov was responding to statements by U.S. officials that depleted uranium munitions are a standard type of weapons. So, it's another story, but it's related. So you mean to tell me you think Vladimir Putin is going to personally come down to a place where they've begun using tank-busting depleted uranium? It's war, man. If he loses his life, then they lose everything. Why would he risk that? He's going to get a stunt double. You call him a body double, just call him a stunt double. Stunt double, you're heading to Mariupol. You're going to go make it look like we're doing great things. If they can do it for random... Look, I know people who I know some stunt doubles. They stunt double for people who are not even famous or well known. There are actors and actresses that are like D-list celebrities who get multiple stunt doubles. Duh. Now, that aside, World War III, maybe because the U.S. has begun using depleted uranium. The reason they do, it says penetrator is made of depleted uranium nearly twice as dense as lead. That's really cool. Look at this. Steel case against a gigantic cartridge. Gun barrel, propellant charge, steel case, sabot, tank armor, stabilizing fin, and then the sabot is what ejects from the projectiles as it launches. I don't know the exact reason. It says 1. Steel case projectiles blasted out of a tank barrel before shedding aluminum sabot. Dart-like projectile is able to stay sharp and penetrate tank's armor with depleted uranium tip, burning away to vapor on impact. When the projectile breaks through, the burning depleted uranium turns the tank's interior into an inferno of searing hot gas and sparks.
Last one in the list.
I don't know if this stuff is considered nuclear weapons. I think that's basically the argument they're making. It seems the enlightened West, led by Washington, has irrevocably decided to bring humanity to a dangerous line, beyond which a nuclear Armageddon is looming even more distinctly. According to a statement published on Monday, UK Minister of State for Defence Annabel Goldie wrote in response to an inquiry from a member of the House of Lords that the British government would send Ukraine munitions containing depleted uranium and featuring enhanced effectiveness against armored vehicles. Okay, so this is NATO doing it, it's not the US. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is Britain doing it, and it's the Russia's U.S. envoy saying that we're bringing them to the brink of Armageddon or whatever. Okay, all right, whatever. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications John Kirby speaks in this photo. Blah blah blah. Yeah, it's not the U.S. It's Britain. My mistake. Britain has used depleted uranium in its armor-piercing shells for decades and does not consider those rounds as having nuclear capability. Russia is known to also have ammunition containing depleted uranium. It's so dense and it's got so much momentum that it just keeps going through the armor and it heats up so much that it catches fire. When fired, depleted uranium munition becomes essentially an exotic metal dart fired at extraordinary high speed. Well, okay. I don't know if this is the catalyst for, apocalypse or Armageddon or whatever you want to call it, but it definitely does seem like we are reaching that point, does it not? And so I must say, to all of the people crying conspiracy theory, it's Vladimir. Why would you think Vladimir Putin would actually risk his life? You know what I mean? The conspiracy theorists probably would just be outright like, of course he's not going to risk his life. And then liberals are probably going to join the conspiracy theorists because they're going to be like, that's right, Putin's a coward and an evil man. Now, here's the question for you. Joe Biden, does he have a body double? I would say, I would bet a large sum of money that he does. Why wouldn't you? You think they're going to have Joe Biden go out and do stuff? The dude's on his deathbed as it is, and he's not even in conflict. What about Kamala Harris? Of course. Why wouldn't these people? There was this viral moment where apparently Hillary Clinton went out with Bill, and everyone was like, that is not Hillary Clinton. It does not look like her. It was weird. Face was totally different. And they're like, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're crazy. It's like, okay, dude, I'm gonna get a bunch of body doubles, and I'm gonna send them all around. And just whatever, because it's funny. And then have everyone be like, it's a conspiracy theory. That's Tim Pool. He doesn't have a body double. And then be like, yeah, I do. It was really easy to do. I don't know where we're going with this war stuff, but I just thought this one was fun and funny. So yeah, what do you think? Comment below. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.
Oh, I would need to do my choosing. I'm gonna make those chocolate cakes. On this. Let's see.
That is not at odds with the way I live. This is a point of contention, though.
Oh, lots of people. Let's go.
I will agree. There's broad debate on this.
He's got no awareness. Hassan! 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 Hassan!
Oh, right.
You're sitting here, millionaire. Few things. Sitting here, millionaire. Oh, it doesn't conflict with Hassan! What are you here for? What's your purpose? You don't think you gotta justify it?
I actually
You
remembered
do.
to do this.
You know, I'll tell you why, Hassan. You also gotta justify it. Some extra shit you gotta know about. Cutting into other people's bottom line as well. You're trying to police and gatekeep Twitch and get fucking people banned left and right and enforce a culture of deplatforming. Going after Aiden Ross, going after Trainwreck, going after this person, that person, you and G3. You're doing that shit all the time, Hassan. You're a gatekeeper. So yeah, you gotta justify yourself. Don't fucking just sit here on your millions and millions of dollars, sitting here policing all the fucking content on the internet And then fucking what? And what's the point?
All right.
You're a fraud, dude. You're a millionaire. 50,000 concurrent viewers, and you can't even what? You can't form a fucking party? I saw the most stupid fucking Hassan supporter.
Oh my god, that is so true about
quote.
Hassan has all this money, all that wealth, all that political power, clout, and whatsoever, and he's doing nothing with it. He's a nobody, and his followers are all less than nobodies.
Tweets. I shit you not. This Hassan supporter, okay, was telling me some shit like, why would Hassan want to form another party? Like, that's gonna help.
Okay, are you done?
You know that book, The Communist Manifesto? You know what it's actually called? It's called Manifesto of the Communist Party. The fact that the working class needs political independence has been a truism of not only Marxism, but even socialism as we know it, mainstream socialism as we know it, since the very fucking beginning in the late 19th century when socialism as a mass popular movement started taking off. You don't need a fucking independent party? Of course you do, you fucking idiot. That's step one. What, do I have to teach you Marxism 101 or some shit? It's literally step one, yes. If you don't have political independence, you're always going to be beholden to the political whims of the ruling class. Why? Because the two parties are parties of the bourgeoisie, right? Parties that are controlled by the bourgeoisie, you can never, no matter how hard you try to reform them, they will never serve the interests of the working class. Isn't that basic Marxism 101, you fucking dumb, airheaded bimbo idiot? It's like some woman in my replies who's trying to simp for Hassan. Oh, what do we need a political party for? That's stupid. That's been tried before. It has never been tried with the amount of fucking attention and clout Hassan has. You want to know why all these other fringe socialist parties fail? Because they don't have attention. Hassan has so much fucking clout. He could fuck up our CPUSA 2036 initiative overnight. If Hassan told his viewers, yeah, let's take over the CPUSA, it would happen overnight. I guarantee you it would happen overnight. And our whole thing would be fucked up. That's the thing. It would be GG for everything we're trying to do. We would literally have to formulate a new fucking strategy. And I'm openly admitting that. We'd have to formulate a new fucking strategy. It's like, even with this new organization I'm building, it's like it would be a stretch. It would be considerably harder to take over CPUSA down the line if it's not. And it would, but the thing is, it would happen overnight. We've been slowly taking the party for years. Hassan, he would do what we have done in years, he would do it overnight. And with a party, he could field candidates, he can do so fucking much. And put it on the map politically. He could literally put it on the map politically, especially among young people and among the youth, because that's the audience he fucking has. No one else has that. Enough. No other fucking political party has that clout. None of them have that amount of fucking attention their way. None of them have the amount of resources that way, right? None of them. Thank you so much, Blackback. Appreciate you.
They would never let him get this big if he was
I
authentic.
wish the butter stacked.
Yeah, that's
Why
the
doesn't
thing.
it
If he
stack?
ever tried to do that, they wouldn't let him get this big. What happened to me? See, Hassan is scared to do this shit. He will never create an alternative to the Democrats. He's got to be loyal to those Democrats or his platform's gone. He will never go against Democrats by doing some shit like that. Oh, you're gonna mobilize young people to vote for a non-Democrat party and get involved in, most importantly, forget about electoralism, organizing. He literally has an army of people ready to organize their communities. He could fucking do he could kickstart a huge fucking thing. I've done the math because I'm trying to do it myself. Okay? If Hassan tried that shit, he could like instantly put socialism really on the map in this country in an effective way. All he's done is bitch about Bernie being gone. Hassan has so much attention, so much influence, so much clout. He could fucking do it overnight. Like this.
He's not
Even
going
if only
to because he's a
1,000 people out
nobody.
of his viewers will full-time commit to it, which I'm sure there would at least 1,000 would, because 50,000 people are so fucking dedicated that they watch him every day concurrently for like 8 hours, right? All he does is tell his viewers to vote Democrat because there's no alternative. Yeah, there is an alternative, Hassan. Your fucking platform that you built easily could make an alternative. And no, I'm not saying it's gonna win a presidential election. You shouldn't even worry about the fucking presidential elections. Focus on building the skeleton of a fucking party movement, and then in fucking, you know, let's say 10 years from now, minimum, I think it'd be even quicker. Like, you'd have a real mass movement in this country that would shake things up, you know? And even if you still believe the two-party system's gonna survive that, Democrats or whoever would have to literally, like, make a deal with this party. Hey, we need this party support. We need the Hassan Piker party support. Please, we're gonna do everything you want. It could be like this grassroots pressure. Could do so much. Endless possibilities. He's such a fraud, dude. He's such a fraud. If Hassan was willing to do that, and if he had the balls to do that, MAGA communism would have never happened. All the Pat Sock shit would have never happened. Like, congrats, we just revived the Bernie thing. The whole Bernie momentum in 2016 would have just been fucking revived, and you wouldn't need these bad villains like Hayes Aldine. Like, Hassan, you want to destroy Hayes Aldine? I mean, I won't be destroyed, but I'd probably like leave the internet and come back under a new identity and make sure this one works. Try to take charge of this thing to make sure, like, you know, they don't fuck it up like how they fucked Bernie shit in 2020 with all that dumb pink hair dumbass shit. But Hayes Aldine probably, I mean, MAGA communism, all this stuff we're doing, it probably wouldn't exist. Honestly, if Hassan had the balls to, like, build a fucking movement that could, like, you know, actually leverage demands from the Democrats, shit. Infrared as you know it might not even exist. Hold on.
Alright, gonna try and make some cheese bread in the game.
Alternate
take that.
timelines that we know will never happen. Because if he tries to do that shit, he's gonna get deplatformed. He's gonna get banned. He's destroyed, right? MAGA communism, what a joke. What a joke. What a joke. I mean, to be fair, probably not true that MAGA communism wouldn't be necessary, because even whatever mass movement he wants to build, when it comes to reaching outside of the, you know, liberal community, it still would have to reach the masses. And the masses are the MAGA people. That's the truth. But I'm just saying, like, at least he'd get the ball rolling with something. Like, something interesting would happen. Something, right? Instead of nothing. He owes us nothing. Oh, trust me, I don't. Not only do I think he owes us nothing, I think he's a shill for the Democrats. Of course, MAGA communism is the way. Of course, it's the way. It's the way in part because people like this are fucking shills for the Democrats. And I'm just saying, blame only yourselves. You could have fucking done a lot of shit with the platform and money and clout and resources you have. You're just too much of a pussy to ever go against Democrats. That's
I
the
use
truth.
all my milk.
That's the damn truth.
Almost.
Right? We're doing MAGA communism. And what is MAGA communism? It means forget about the liberals, forget about these leftists. If you want to build a working class movement in this country, begin with MAGA. Go to MAGA. And we're gonna build the MAGA communism. We're gonna build a communist movement from the MAGA movement, which has already united the working class of this country in an unprecedented fucking way. Right? Trump and MAGA need a third party. That's what we think. We want Trump. Fuck the Republican Party, man. Why the fuck is MAGA in the same party as Lindsey Graham and fucking who's that fucking eye patch McCain guy? What's his name again? Dan Crenshaw? All these fucking neocons and freaks and actual rhinos and establishment swamp monsters. Even the ones that say they're for Trump, like McCarthy and shit, they're all full of shit. Right? There's some MAGA people in there that are loyal to Trump, but they're in the minority. The whole fucking Republican Party's stacked against him. And, if Trump had a... I mean, but who knows? But if there was a MAGA... That's what we want. That's what the MAGA communists want. We want to... Not only we want a third party, we want a party for the working class. Because our whole argument is very simple. People think it's complicated, and it's not. We're saying this. In 2016, what got Trump elected? The working class. The blue-collar working class, right? That's what carried him to his election. The traditional Republicans are not the blue-collar working class. Those are the people on golf courses or I don't know, right? Totally different people, totally different voters. So all we're saying is MAGA has to double down on the working class demographic and build its interests, policies, and strategy around uniting the working class in this country. Thank you so much, The King.
Instead of building a party, Hassan decided to divide the left further
Exactly.
by attacking Jimmy Dore and calling healthcare activists fascists when there was the M4M4A rally.
The King, you know what's so disgusting about that? Hassan Piker could have single-handedly made the fucking force the vote strategy work if he used this platform. He could have literally gotten force the vote to work if he went all in on it for his platform. So yeah, that's what we're saying with MAGA communism. It's like, oh, what about the communism stuff? Well, communism is just about the movement of the working class and building a state, policies, political power for the working class. We don't think communism is some system you enforce. We have a theory that the productive forces are developing in a direction that's going to make a lot of things outdated, like traditional capitalism, which it already has in the information age. We think modes of production change according to history. It's the politics you have to fight for, and the politics of the working class you got to fight for. The change in the system of society will happen naturally, right? The politics won't change naturally, but the economics will. It's not going to be at gunpoint or by force or any of that kind of shit. Unless we're talking about the monopolies. Thank you so much, PJ.
I began to analyze Lenin's writings in order to develop literature connecting his work to MAGA. I would appreciate your feedback if you get a chance.
Oh, sure, yeah. Thank you, PJ. I welcome it. I welcome it. Thank you so much for that and also for the 10. Thank you. But, yeah, all MAGA communism is like, yeah, we do want to maybe nationalize the energy industry and either break up the monopolies or nationalize the monopolies. We also want to break the bureaucracy of the current government and simplify it and nationalize the resources that are monopolized. But we don't want to take people's personal businesses and belongings and family businesses, and we don't want to take homes and all that. We don't want to socialize any of that stuff. Thank you so much, Venezuelan Patriot. Appreciate you.
MAGA, does the People's Party have any potential as a working class first party?
I'm not sure. I'm open to everything. I just think we have to build a working class communist party which has got to be drawn and work within the MAGA movement. That's what I think. But that's all MAGA communism is. It's actually really simple, right? Yeah, we need a national bank. Holy shit, that's what we need. Break up the Federal Reserve, get us a national bank. And that's the communist line. The communism isn't about we're gonna forcibly, you know, communalize every fucking thing. That's never what communists have wanted, right? Not even in Russia or China, which were very different conditions, by the way, than America. So MAGA communism's simple. It's actually simple. Movement for the working class, by, for, and of the working class. And it could be other people, too. It doesn't just have to be the blue-collar working class. But it has to be led by the blue-collar working class. It's got to be led by the working class. But it's also going to have other people join in. You know? Business owners and stuff. They'll join in. But it's led by the working class. That's what we believe, right? Because we think that's the divide with MAGA. We're trying to say it's not about ideology, it's about class. The MAGA people are the blue-collar working class, and then the rhinos and all these other fucking Republicans, that's, you know, those are, I don't know, white-collar kinds of people, right? So that's our view. That's our analysis. That's the MAGA communism line, you know? It's pretty simple stuff. Movement for the working class. You know, what about all the ideology? Forget about ideology. Who gives a fuck about that? Ideological differences. Material meat and potatoes are what matters. Not jibber-jabber and phrases. And this guy's got the jibber-jabber, and he's got, oh, I'm gonna talk about all these phrases. But in the meat and potatoes, he's against the working class. He calls them hogs. He doesn't do anything for them. Thank you so much, One Man Army.
Communism is just common sense. The workers are majority. And workers have been pushed around by the megacore who buy out politics.
Exactly, One Man Army. It's actually simplified stuff. Simplified stuff. Simple stuff, right? Communism, working for the common prosperity of the whole country. Bit of the parasites. You know. Take control of our country. And yeah, it's about the meat and potatoes, not the jibber jabber. This is all the jibber jabber.
Subject matter. There's many different kinds of ways of approaching it. But
he was against the truckers and laughed when the cops attacked him. Exactly. Meat and potatoes. Thank you, Iron Rose.
China as the new global superpower, the American people will be forced to face the reality of the power and legitimacy of communism and how we've been lied to about.
That's exactly what we're talking about. And not just China, also Russia. Because a lot of people think Russia became capitalist. Not true. You can't just revert from socialism to capitalism. That's never happened in history. Socialism is a mode of production. You either have that mode of production or you don't. So either the Soviet Union never had a socialist mode of production, or Russia cannot be described as capitalist. Now, is it socialist? It's complicated. I think Russia's in a state... I think... in terms of the mode of production, it's like the world is socialist right now, right? But Russia's got that political legacy of socialism that will never go away, ever. Even Putin, when he met with Xi, I should cover that too, by the way. I'm sure Jackson covered it where you guys were there.
Certainly would be more interesting than
you know, Putin sitting...
Let's go. Long opening.
The officiation of multipolarity as we know it. The meeting between Putin and Xi in Russia has taken the world by storm. Everywhere you fucking go, you turn on the channel, any fucking country's TV networks are covering it the whole fucking day. Truly a monumental event. Which surprised me how much people were just so shocked by it, because I saw this coming. You know what I mean? Since the launch of Infrared as a channel, we've been seeing this coming. And we're going to talk about the implications of what it means and what this multipolar... I mean, look at the tagline of our fucking channel. It's Marxism-Leninism in the age of multipolarity in the post-COVID world. How can I not fucking cover this, right? How can I not fucking cover this? But there's a few things we want to get to, and a few things I want to cover, and a few things I want to discuss, and a few things that we need to, you know, some ground we have to cover. First of all, DeSantis throwing his hat in the ring and is officially coming out as a warmonger. He's officially saying, oh yeah, I want to go to war with China. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thomas, thank you so much. Thomas, appreciate you so much. DeSantis is openly coming out saying
Hour into his stream before he actually goes in.
as Marx talks about it. And then it starts to acquire determinacy and specificity, right? Eventually. So in socialism, economic institutions are created to reflect that. And that defines exchange value in a determinate way, instead of being something that's indeterminate and universal. So, but let's watch this, because Putin is reacting to Xi Jinping's peace proposal, and he's saying, yeah, we're for it, but here's the problem. And what is that problem, by the way? We're going to get into that.
Мы не обошли вниманием ситуацию вокруг Украины. Полагаем, что многие из положений, выдвинутого Китаем мирного плана, созвучны российским подходам и могут быть взяты за основу для мирного урегулирования, когда к нему будут готовы на Западе и в Киеве. Однако такой подход, пока такой готовности с их стороны мы не наблюдаем. Но более того, вот только что мне сообщили, в то время, когда мы с председателем обсуждали вопрос возможности реализации китайского плана мирного урегулирования, а председатель КНР...
Now this is fucked up. The UK deputy minister announced that they want to send depleted uranium shells to Ukraine. Now, if you don't know what depleted uranium shells do, they create cancer, extremely horrific physical abnormalities, mutations, and they are a form of poison because it's the radiation from the uranium shells, as you can see from the case of Serbia and Iraq, because NATO used these uranium shells in Serbia, the results were fucking horrible for the population of Serbia. And they also used them in Iraq, and the same result, right? You see infants and babies affected with these, like, unspeakable mutations and health deficiencies because of these fucking uranium shells. So this is a form of nuclear warfare, because I'll tell you why. Nuclear fallout is probably one of the most important details of nuclear war. Nuclear war isn't just when big bombs are dropped and people die from the immediate explosion. It's the radiation that makes nuclear war so fucking, you know, unprecedented, right? So, with that in mind,
immediately got what I wanted.
This is a form of nuclear war, and look what Putin says and how he's going to respond to that.
Председатель КНР уделил большое внимание своим мирным инициативам в ходе нашей вчерашней беседы с глазу на глаз. Сегодня стало известно, что Великобритания устами заместителя главы Министерства обороны этой страны объявила не только о поставках танков на Украину, но и снарядов с объединенным ураном.
Thank you so much.
Keep it up as always.
Thank you so much, Danny. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Похоже, что Запад действительно решил воевать с Россией. До последнего украинцы уже не на словах, а на деле. Но хотел бы в этой связи отметить, что если все это будет происходить, то соответствующим образом Россия вынуждена будет реагировать, имея в виду, что коллективный Запад начинает применять уже оружие с ядерным компонентом.
He just said if these are used, we're going to also use nuclear weapons. Or weapons with a nuclear component. That's what he says. I think Putin is not bluffing. I think he's telling the truth about this. But the West doesn't care. Well, then, Putin, you should leave Ukraine then. If you don't want nuclear war, leave Ukraine. Okay, well, you don't want peace then. You just want nuclear war. Right? Because it's not going to fucking happen. You know it's not. And the whole point of peace is balancing different interests. If you can't recognize Russia's interest in Ukraine, then you're basically saying civilization should go extinct. That's what you're saying.
在没有获得联合国安理会批准的情况下，悍然对南联盟发动78天的持续轰炸，期间北约投放了近42万枚，总计2.2万吨炸弹，其中包括15吨贫铀弹，
That's a chest.
直接造成包括79名儿童在内的2500多人死
But
亡，
effectively one less
100多万
because
人
of that crappy
沦为
drop
难民
one.
令人痛心的是，战争。
So this is what you got to pay attention to when it comes to the depleted uranium, because this is what's important to bear in mind.
给当地带来的死亡和痛苦仍遗害至今，代代延续。有关专家指出，贫铀弹对人体的伤害有较长的潜伏期。
Eleven is disturbed. Look at his reaction.
Oh yeah, well he's probably disturbed because of hearing about the fucking depleted uranium being used by the West. Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate you, man.
对环境和人类的食物链也造成长期影响。轰炸发生后的10年，塞尔维亚约有3万人患癌症。
That's a rate of one third of the people who developed it in Serbia. So it's no joke, okay? It's no joke.
其中1万多人死亡。根据贝尔格莱德公共卫生研究所的统计，截至2019年年底，塞尔维亚患癌症登记在册人数高达9.7万。塞尔维亚急救中心的研究表明， 1999年以后本国出生的儿童，1岁到5岁多发外皮层肿瘤，5岁至9岁多发恶性血液病。
But, you know, America denies that depleted uranium has results in any of these effects. And I'm sure we can believe that because we have the full confidence of the American medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry, which obviously knows a lot about human biology. Thank you, Danny.
Keep up the great stream as always.
Thank you so much, Danny. But, you know, I think Pfizer came out and talked about endorsing this claim by the U.S. that depleted uranium has no negative health effects. And we can be confident in them. We can trust them, right? We can trust all them. How could we ever criticize the expert consensus of the U.S. medical authorities? They are literally gods. They know everything. They've never been wrong about anything.
9岁至18岁
Fauci said so.
脑瘤发病率急剧上升。此外，截至2019年5月，366个参与北约军事行动的意大利士兵患癌症死亡，7500人深受。
So that's why Putin is reacting in the way he is. Pretty understandable, if you ask me. Now, as far as some of the more constructive results of the meeting with Xi, among other things, you want to talk about the approaching economic crisis in the U.S. What are the ramifications of that going to be for the world? Check this out. Okay, if you didn't know this, the basis of the U.S. dollar is in the petrodollar system, where petroleum is sold and denominated in U.S. dollars. That's what gives the U.S. dollar its value, right? Okay, check this out. Russia is going to use the yuan instead of dollars, not only in its trade with China, but in its trade with other Asian, African, and Latin American countries. So Russia is going to use the yuan to trade with the world, not the dollar. And Saudi Arabia is considering selling oil to China in yuan,
don't want those.
which would effectively topple the basis of the petrodollar system. This is the beginning of the end of the U.S. empire economically. I mean, it already has been the beginning of the end, but this is a move which is certain to provoke a military response from the U.S. No other way to look at it. Yep, the people in Washington will, make no fucking mistake about it, they will go to war over this. I promise you. That is 1,000% going to result in war. It's always, every time there's been a major threat to the petrodollar system, there's been a fucking war. Iraq, Libya, you know, this is, I mean, look, the U.S. empire is fucking over. I'm an American. I'm not sitting here gloating in Russia or China. I'm an American too. I'm sitting here trying to tell you guys, who are also Americans, the empire is fucking over. It's done. The only shot we as Americans have is if we start thinking in terms of what is good for our people here at home. How can we improve life, the well-being and prosperity of Americans at home? How can we address the problems we face as a country? The era of us having our hand in everyone's fucking business is over. We cannot be the world police. It's not sustainable. We're talking about an inflation crisis. You want to know how you offset on inflation? Let's bring production back. Let's actually start meeting domestic demand with domestic production and bring back jobs, right? The empire's fucking over. So if we're Americans, I mean, look, our founding fathers didn't even intend for this to be an empire. Let's go back to our roots as a republic.
America just has to pull out. We are a toxic country. Just pull out, keep to ourselves, clean our own shit up, then we can get back out into the world.
Republic and be a peaceful, prosperous country. Obviously, we'll defend ourselves. But this whole fucking empire is done, man. You know? That's what MAGA means to me. You want to make America great again? Make it American again instead of being a globalist empire. Let's make America American again, right? Bring back the fucking domestic industry. Let's start focusing on our own affairs and our own business because that empire's over. China and Russia, they're leading a revolution in the world. Africa's joining them. Latin America's joining them. You know what? Let's join them too. Let's make this bread. You know what I mean? Let's join them. Let's grow together. We should be able to join them, shouldn't we? Oh, but we don't want to do that because why? Why shouldn't we increase our trade relations, economic deals, and grow together, build infrastructure, work together to develop the world and each other? Share our technology. They share with us.
We're absolutely.
It's almost like the empire doesn't serve what the American people need.
Conduct for us in regard to foreign nations is in extending our commercial relations to have with them as little political connection as possible. George Washington.
That's what George Washington said, guys. I am not gloating in Russia or China. I am also an American.
Makes sense.
I live here just like you guys. I want what's best for us. And what's best for us is to stop coping and stop pretending like we can sustain this fucking empire because we can't. Petrodollar system's fucking over. Okay? They're gonna start trading in yuan now. Let's be a country among other countries instead of being the world police. Thank you so much, Channel Music.
De Gaulle's grandson endorsed the Russian stance last month and called out USA for trying to vassalize Europe. W for multipolarity.
Big W, you know? It's an embarrassment to us. How could we be a normal country if...
Good morning, Revolution.
Thank you so much, Lionel. Appreciate you so much. Let's sit down and realize, you know, we need to wake up as a people. Wake up out of this fucking dream. And that's why I'm a Trump guy. That's why I'm a MAGA guy, okay? That's why they're after Trump. You want to know who sounds like me? Trump sounds like me right now. Trump is saying some of the same shit. Stop with the globalism. Stop with the world police. Put our country first. Let's focus on our own affairs and our own business. Bring the jobs back. Bring prosperity. Build the freedom cities and build the flying cars. That's what Trump said. That's why they're after him. You know? That's why they're after him. That's what MAGA means.
Я уже говорил, уже 2/3 товарооборота между...
A quantum leap forward. I'm not saying it's over for America as a country. It doesn't have to be. This is a brilliant country that's done brilliant things. Look at what Henry Ford did. Americans invented a lot of cool shit. Innovators, imaginators, innovators, imagineers, forward-thinking visionaries. What happened to that? You know, shouldn't we go back to that instead of this dumb shit?
Corporatism. That's what happened to that. All right, I got the item I wanted.
Future-oriented people who have a bold, boundless thinking into the future. I mean, why don't we seize our future again, huh? We can do great things as a country if we discard this idiotic ambition to be a fucking global empire. We can do great fucking things. But I fear it's going to be too late. A lot of you guys hear what I'm saying, and Trump's saying a lot of the same things, and it all sounds great. But I just think it's not going to happen, and the worst is going to happen instead. This country's going to balkanize. It's going to break apart. It's going to fucking collapse, and we're going to be living in Liberia, a civil war. You know the Liberian Civil War? That shit was crazy. Go watch the fucking documentary on that. That was fucking crazy. That was just all out The Purge. You know the movie The Purge? That's Liberia was an American colony, by the way. So that's a sneak peek in what's in store for America. Hell on earth. All out fucking chaos. Warlords. Everywhere. Fucking chaos. This country's gonna break apart. We're too late. I don't want you guys to lose hope. Maybe we're not. But it's like, they'll never even let me get big enough for people to start hearing this message. Trump, they're already trying to stop him in his tracks and arrest him. We know it doesn't have to be like this, but it's gonna be anyway. So you know what we should do, guys? What we should do is plant our feet in the ground and prepare. Let's prepare to survive this fucking disaster that's coming. Because it is coming. Shit is gonna hit the fan. We need to build an organization. We need to build something that's gonna survive this. And rebuild when shit goes down for the future. You should stay tuned for that.
Нашими странами осуществляются в рублях и юанях. Мы за использование китайских юаней в расчетах между Российской Федерацией и странами Азии, Африки, Латинской Америки. Я уже говорил, уже 2/3 товара...
Beautiful. Beautiful.
All right, I'm too slow. Bye.